Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trilokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Chapita Tvameva Tvameva bandhuscha sakha tvameva Tvameva vedyad ravinam Tvameva Tvameva sarvam namadeva deva Tvameva sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karabhavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So last week we started the 12th chapter, one of the most famous, Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion. And to review, because there's so many very important points we covered last week. The first, which is better, to worship the Lord as a form, to have what we call an Ishta Devata, be it Krishna or Shiva or Ram, or Jesus, or Allah, or Yahweh, or to worship without a form, meaning the self, the ineffable, the unknowable. And Krishna says both will take you to the infinite. But the worship of the ineffable is harder for the embodied. Here, embodied meant ego identified. Meaning, if my mind is still largely grossified and I'm identified as a person, I think I'm the body, or the body plus the subtle body. It is better to worship the Lord with a form. My mind is more sattvic. I can let that go. And as Kena Upanishad thundered, it is not that which you worship here, it's yourself. So only you can make that determination. And I like to say, do not let philosophical inconsistency get in the way of getting some relief. And Swamiji used to say, that person is the greatest of fools, who is firmly identified with the ego and then denies the existence of a personal God. Because then all you're really left with is your own puny self-will. Now, what do we mean by a personal God? Is that illusory? Well, yes, and no. So in the world of the phenomenal universe, there is a God. That God has a body. It doesn't have four arms like Krishna or seated in the lotus posture with a third eye like Shiva. The body of God is the Jagat, the whole phenomenal universe. Vedanta is not pantheistic. Pantheism is when God is in everything. It is panentheistic. God's in everything and God's beyond everything. God has a mind. How do you like that one? We call it the total mind, Hiranyagarbha, where we can go for wisdom when we are quiet and we need guidance. We can ask. We call that intuition. When a wisdom greater than my own puny little rational mind weighing the balance sheet of life. These are the pros, these are the cons, Should I do this or shouldn't I? And you can ask. And you learn to get in touch with a sense of rightness. How do I know I'm doing God's will? How do I know I have the right answer? Knowledge of God's will and acting along that brings us peace. Now, there is a God in charge of the universe who's running the show. The common term we have is Ishvara, the Lord. He who wishes, he who wills, he who intends. Ichchati. So the universe is a cosmos, not a chaos. It's all unfolding exactly as it's supposed to. God's in charge. I may not like the way it's unfolding, but it's going to unfold as it's supposed to. For us to fight that is like going to the seashore to do battle with the waves, to try to keep them from crashing on the shore. Good luck. And for the yogi who has further developed this intuition, we begin to experience what Jung called synchronicity. We see that things are connected. There's a very famous Zen koan. From where you are sitting, move the distant boat across the water. This is not about having psychic powers and moving boats. It's about understanding that the same intelligence that's got you seated in your seat, that's making your eyes blink, is moving the boat across the water. It's moving traffic. It's spinning galaxies. Once we get in touch with that, if we're at the level of our unfoldment where we're identified with the body-mind complex, the practice is Ishvara Pranidhana, trustful surrender. to God. And Krishna earlier has said, in whatever way people approach me, so am I to them. Doesn't matter the face you put on God. They're all masks. But in the world of phenomena, there is a God. And for those who deny it, knock yourself out. But that's like saying, I don't believe in gravity. Ask me if gravity cares if you don't believe in it. If I go up to the ceiling of my apartment house, convinced that I can be like the road runner who runs off the cliff and doesn't fall, then he falls. Yeah, I'm going to go splat. Gravity is in the phenomenal world. God is. And someone refresh my memory. Did we talk about prayer last week? Yes? No?
I can't remember them.
Mark, do you remember? Jory, do you remember?
I'm not sure.
Let's do some review. Listen carefully. Prayer does not change God. Prayer changes the one who's praying. Those people who have an idea, if I do this ritual, and that's going to make things happen, if there's a God out there that I'm going to influence or control. A lot of the ancients thought this. They thought they could control the gods through ritual. No such God. God is not neurotic. How many of us, when we've been in crisis, have said, oh God, please? Like my begging can change God. And I know we did talk about how the love, the mercy, the forgiveness, the grace of God is a constant. So the prayer of surrender opens us up. I can't, God can, I think I'll let him. Not about trying to muscle our way through life. And I think I might have shared that lovely teaching that comes from the old Course in Miracles. I'm frightened because I see a meaningless universe. I see a meaningless universe because I'm in competition with God. God may be omnipotent, but he's obviously an underachiever. Why? Because he's not doing it my way. So it's about dethroning my control issues. Let go and let God have his wonderful way. So this is the essence of what we went through last week. And I think we finished through, what was it, the 12th verse? Is that right?
You start
We
with
ju-
12th one.
Yeah,
All
we're
right.
starting with 12.
12th verse, please. Can you help us out, please, Deepa? Well, first of all, any questions about what we've covered so far? All right, going on.
श्रेयो हि ज्ञानमभ्यास आज ज्ञानाध्यानमं विशिष्यते ध्यानात् कर्म फल त्याग Astyagachantirrantaram. Knowledge is indeed better than practice. Meditation is better than knowledge. Renunciation of the fruits of actions is better than meditation. Peace immediately follows renunciation.
So this is a ladder of peace. So let's see what are the levels of practice that we need to go through as bhakti yogis to achieve peace. So what was the first one that he said? Knowledge is better than practice.
Yeah, knowledge is better than practice.
So many of us have all sorts of practices and we don't really think about them. We'll go through rituals. Why? Because this is what we've always done. I'm going to chant this mantra so many times. I'm going to do this particular asana, do this pranayama. But better than that is understanding. Jnana. Now, in the beginning, we have what's called paroksha jnana, indirect knowledge. Is my mind still telling me I'll be happy when I get a better job? I'll be happy when I get rid of the job. I'll be happy when I get a house. I'll be happy when I get rid of the house. I'll be happy when I get a partner. I'll be happy when I get rid of the partner. The answer is more money. Always I'll be happy when, I'll be better if. That's rooted in ignorance. Talking with a person today, and he's just now getting to the point where his mind has seen that it's not about more stuff. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. He gets the stuff, and okay, now I'm not satisfied. It didn't do what I thought it was supposed to do. Well, this is beginning to see what understanding is. Understanding is, what is it I'm looking for? The self. Krishna. It's not out there in the world. The world is colored glass, trinkets and baubles. What I want is the chintamani, the wish-fulfilling gem, the pearl of great price. So the vast majority of the people in the world don't even know Brahman exists. Then of those who are introduced to the spiritual life, all sorts of stupid ideas, wrong understanding. Hopefully then you meet a teacher who's traveled the path and can say, no, this is what it's about. Or we read scripture with a good commentary. Ah, yes. So knowledge that informs our practice is important. What comes after that, dear?
Meditation is better than knowledge.
Yeah. So the knowledge, the understanding should inform a practice of meditation. In the beginning, that meditation may have an object of concentration, a mantra, a form of the Lord. Then as we mature, it gets quieter. Maybe you practice vipassana, mindfulness, lots of different meditation. By the way, meditation doesn't work if you don't do it. I was talking with a person today who used to have a Buddhist practice, doesn't have much of a practice anymore. And he says, well, I could only do about 5 or 10 minutes, but I've read that you have to do a minimum of 20 minutes before the mind will settle down. And he asked me my opinion. And I said, I think what you've heard is right. 20 minutes is a minimum. Now, we work up to it if your mind is very active. You start with 5 or 10 minutes for a week or two, then increase it by 5 minutes, then by another 5 minutes until you can do 20 minutes. But the really good stuff starts to happen when you can sit for 40 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour. So better than just understanding is meditation. Next idea.
Renunciation of the fruits of actions is better than meditation.
So it doesn't mean we practice renunciation instead of meditation. But if you practice meditation for an hour a day and you go out and you are attached to the world, still won't get the benefits. Hopefully, our meditation informs our capacity to practice mature vairagya. Shankara defines it as that desire, meaning we don't achieve it overnight, to give up attachment to all experiences gained through the senses. And I'm acting in the world because you're going to act. Let go of the fruits, let go of the fruits, let go of the fruits. And also letting go of ego. My need to control, my need to defend, my need to protect, my need to justify, envy, jealousy, competition, all that stuff. Let it go. Revenge, regret for the past, old hurts and resentments. Let them go. And our meditation informs our renunciation. And I think he ends up by saying, peace follows renunciation. Is that right?
He says, peace immediately follows renunciation.
Yeah. We've all had that experience. You're driving down the freeway, you hit bumper to bumper traffic, and you need to be someplace at a particular time, and you grip the steering wheel and you try to push the traffic with your heart. Oh, I'm gonna be late. Has anybody had that feeling? And then finally you renounce, meaning you let it go. I'll get there when I get there. You're waiting for the bus and it never comes. Drop it, let it go. Peace immediately follows renunciation. Ego says, satisfy your control issues, satisfy your desires. Struggle, 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 win, 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 win. Yoga says, cease fighting anyone. Let go and let God have His wonderful way. Now, don't believe me, don't believe Krishna. Play with this. Go out there and spend a day or two trying to take your psychic baseball bat and bludgeon life. See how that works for you. Then try for a week or two practicing this ascent of practices to peace. See what works. Maybe Gita's wrong. For me, so far, I've found it to be true. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
The page is stuck.
Aha, sticky pages.
Okay, two verses together. Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitra karuna evacha nirmamo nirahamkara samadukha sukhakshami samtushta satatam yogi yatatma dhrudha nishchaya mayyarpita mano buddhiryo madbhakta samame priya. He who hates no creature, who is friendly and compassionate to all, who is free from attachment and egoism, balanced in pleasure and pain, and forgiving, ever content, steady in meditation, self-controlled, possessed of firm conviction, with mind and intellect dedicated to me, he, my devotee, is dear to me.
So let's take the last part of these two verses first. Understand you're not really going to please God. What we're going to do is invoke the grace of God. I like to say, if you don't feel close to God, who moved? Not God. So, this list of practices are ways for you and me to clean out small self, ahankriti, egoism in its various forms, because that's what clogs the channel of God's grace. When I feel in the grace of God, my life feels blessed. I feel full of gratitude. I'm filled with joy. I'm a happy camper. So let's see what these practices are. Let's again parse it. So the first one again, he who hates.
He who hates no creature.
So one of the primary impediments to the grace of God is deep resentment. What does it do? The word in Latin is resentire. Sentire means to feel. So resentire means to feel again. How do I know if I have a resentment? I think the clearest way to figure that out is, are you having conversations with people who who aren't in the room. There's a term in French called esprit d'escalier, the spirit of the staircase. And what it means is you have some argument with someone and they storm out and you're storming up the stairs. And as you're going upstairs, you think of all the clever things you could have said. For the yogi, resentment is fatal. It blocks us off from the sunlight of the spirit. How do I get free from deep resentment? I will tell you. The key is first identification, empathy, and then forgiveness. So you have this very important slogan. You spot it, you got it. I point the finger at someone, there's 3 more pointing back at me. The vast majority of the character defects of others that have made me angry, made me resentful, I have myself. So the first thing is to see, oh, how am I just like that person or similar? And of course, one of ego's greatest strategies, I like that one, strategies, is denial. I'm not like that. But if you really are honest, and it's this very interesting thing. One person can be among your group of friends, and you have one friend, oh, that person just drives me up a wall. And you go, really? Well, they're a little quirky, but why does it bug you? And then on the other hand, you may think, I can't stand that person. Really? Why do I get annoyed? Or deep, deep wounds. For many of us, it will be our family of origin, or a broken love affair or marriage. These deep wounds. So first, if we can, try to identify them, see how they, like ourselves, have kleshas, afflictions, doshas, defects of character. We are broken people, hurt people, hurt people. When I have done hurtful things to others, it's been because of fear and pain. Once I can see why I do bad behavior, then I've discovered why other people do. Once I can see that, the sense of identification, then I can move to empathy, to understanding. They are like me. Doesn't mean I have to like their behavior. I'm not asking you to condone or put up with other people's bad behavior, but this helps us dial down the reactivity. Hurt people hurt people. For example, if you have a parent and you've had a really hard time with a parent, one of the things you may do is write out that person's biography, what you know of it, identifying how they have been hurt and damaged. In Hebrew scripture, there's a saying, the sins of the fathers are visited upon the sons, even to the second and third generation. This doesn't mean if you do something ritually impure, it goes on for generations. It means we pass on these familial dysfunctions from generation to generation. We have a chance to break the path. So we have to come to a point, first through identification, then through empathy and understanding, and finally when I see that they are like myself, responding to pain, responding to fear, then I can begin to forgive them. Resentment is a poison that we brew for another, but drink ourselves. The yogi cannot progress spiritually and hold on to deep resentment. Any thoughts on this? So the yogi hates no one. And if you hate someone in your life, this is a practice to get through it. Any thoughts on this? Next idea.
Who is friendly and compassionate to all.
Yes. So many of us move through life, frankly, with an attitude of unconscious self-centeredness and indifference to the world. How many times have you walked by a homeless person or someone panhandling and put up your psychic blinders and just want to ignore them? I'm not saying that you must give money to everybody, but can you at least acknowledge their humanity? Even if they smell, even if they're obviously wackadoodle. How did the Master Jesus say it? Let me see if I can remember it. Even the Gentiles love their friends. I say, love your enemies. Whoa. So you and I, we can be very friendly to the people we like. But it's harder to take an attitude of gentleness and friendliness to all people, even those who don't agree with us politically. That's what's up in the air right now. Next idea.
Who is free from attachment and egoism.
Yes. So let it go, let it go, let it go. Thy right is to work alone, never to its fruits. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. That's what the Job said in the Hebrew scripture. Let it go. Deeply understanding. Everything is mine to use. None of it is mine to own. Even if you're functioning in the world and you've got a retirement account or a pension or a IRA or you own a condo or whatever, inside we must be a sannyasi. All inside. Prior verse, we talked about how peace comes to the renunciation. Next idea.
Balanced. Oh, who is did I read this? Who is free from attachment and egoism?
Yes, I didn't speak to egoism. So the idea is we want to make sure that you're not running agenda, trying to prove something, trying to make yourself big or get attention or approval. There was a Westerner who was once asked, who was a close associate of the Dalai Lama. He was asked, what's he like? And the response was, he's always the smallest person in the room. He never has anything to prove. Letting that egoism go. Next idea.
Balanced in pleasure and pain and forgiving. So balanced in pleasure and pain.
So this idea of the sama drishta, this equality of vision in sukham dukkam. I would prefer to translate it as pleasure and suffering. But what is pleasure? What is suffering in the world? When the situation is conducive, the mind experiences pleasure, happiness. When the situation is non-conducive, the mind whines. That's all it is. It's mechanical. It's based on past experience. It's not about truth. And it's not about being happy. When good things come our way, great. Enjoy. And when negative things come our way, we don't get what we want in life. We don't get what we need in life either. We get the inevitable results of the force of our past actions. Practice titiksha, forbearance, the capacity to endure the vicissitudes of life without the need for redress or revenge. It's nothing but the force of the past maturing, and it always passes. Now, because what we experience is the force of the past maturing, keep your nose clean. The effect is the cause in a different form. You don't like what's going on in your life, maybe you might try changing your behavior. Do good, be kind, be generous, be forgiving. Now, that's not necessarily going to bring you to God, but it sure is going to smooth things out in your life. In the 12-step traditions, we have a saying, if you want self-esteem, do esteemable actions. So for a yogi who begins to live her life with some integrity, being kind, being generous, being truthful, being a person of their word, all of a sudden, in time, our lives start to mellow out. We're not in the state of drama all the time. We may have lived with when we were reacting to everything. So the yogi wants to stand back, witness life. This is called Sakshi Bhava, taking on the attitude of the witness. Next idea.
Forgiving.
Yes. We talked about this. Let it go, let it go, let it go. Now, another corollary to this is when we are wrong, promptly admit it. And when others wrong us, forgive them. What do we usually do? When I'm wrong, I hide, defend, rationalize, justify, which usually keeps terrible tension in a relationship. When we are wrong, promptly admit it. And when others wrong us, forgive them. It's hard. Start by just saying the words, I forgive you. If it's hard to forgive them, here's another assignment. In your morning meditation, pray for that person every day for 30 days. Pray that they get all the good you would want in life. Watch how your heart will shift. Next idea.
Ever content, steady in meditation.
Yes. So the yogi wants to practice contentment, santosha. Can you be at peace and enjoy what the Lord has brought you today without always jonesing for it to be better? Doesn't mean we don't work. Doesn't mean we don't have goals. But you know the difference between an attachment and an insistence and a preference. Oh, I really want this promotion and the raise that goes with it. And there's 6 people applying for this job. Hope I get it. We're going to work on my CV, work on my interviewing skills. Nothing wrong with that. And when you go to the interviews and they give it to someone else, let it go. All right, Lord, this is where you want me. For now. Excellent. So there were 2 ideas. What was the first one we talked about?
Ever content,
And the second part?
steady in meditation.
Yes. So take up the practice of meditation. Don't be satisfied with just indirect knowledge. And again, 20 minutes a day minimum. Is that all the pieces of those shlokas?
No, there's more.
Okay.
Self-control.
Yes. So the yogi wants to develop the idea of the restraint of the indulgent, compulsive part of the mind. I call it the inner 2-year-old. I want ice cream. No, I don't want to eat my broccoli. Many people think if I just give in to that, that's going with the flow of life. No. That's being at the effect, tyrannized by the indulgent part of the mind. The yogi needs to be able to do anything, put up with anything for the rest of eternity, and do without anything for the rest of eternity. She needs to be able to not be at the effect of raga and dvesha, loud trumpets in my ears. I have no chance of being able to really get deep with the intuition until I let those voices go. So I have to have some discipline about that. Learning that just because I have a feeling doesn't mean I have to act. Just because I have a thought or an opinion doesn't mean I have to say something. We develop some restraint in our actions and our speech. The exact opposite of flaming away on social media. Next idea.
Possessed of firm conviction.
Yes. So in Vivekachudamani, Shankara will say, who can argue for the scriptures and refute arguments against them. This is not something we do at your next cocktail party. Where does this argument for the scriptures, being convinced, having the convictions, and arguing, refuting arguments against them take place? In my mind. Why? Because as we're moving through the world, everybody is going to feed you a different message, a different paradigm for life. They're all going to say, I'm living life to the fullest. Drugs, sex, and rock and roll. Money, power, prestige. I have a cashmere life. Jewels. Nothing wrong with these. But you and I have to look to our hearts. What does it feel like when I'm caught up in the cycle of ambition and craving and desire? I don't know about you, but I think it sucks. The scriptures tell us over and over and over again. We just had a verse. With mature renunciation, peace follows. Let it go. So you and I need to have firm conviction about the truth of the spiritual life as it's set forth in the scriptures. Doesn't mean you go to your next pink tantra workshop. We're going to teach you how to have tantric sex. This will be spiritual. We're going to make it spiritual. Oh, we're spiritual. We're going on an ayahuasca event this weekend. Nonsense. Yasa Vairagyacha. That's what our scriptures say. Practice and renunciation. So we need to be convinced of this. How? Through a steady observation of the world in our own minds. Shankara, again, in Vivekachudamani, talks about a knowledge of the world outside and an understanding of the world within. We need to have that. Vedanta is only really effective to people when they're done with the world. To have a belly full of desire and a mind full of Vedanta is not a comfortable place. Better you never walk through the door. Go out there and let the world kick you in the teeth for a while. But if you come to the Vedanta, knowing exactly what the world can give you, then the Vedanta will work quickly. Next idea.
With mind and intellect dedicated to me, he, my devotee, is dear to me.
So mind and intellect devoted to me, meaning I think about the path. I think about God. I try to remember God as much as I can. In my mind, with my emotional nature, love God with all your heart and soul and mind and strength. And back in the 11th chapter, remember Krishna said that japa is the king of yogas. St. Paul in the Christian scripture said, pray unceasingly. How in God's name can I pray unceasingly? Well, we Hindus have been doing it for thousands of years. Japa. Take on a mantra. Chant it in your meditation. Chant it in your mind during your waking hours. Let it sink into the deepest part of your unconscious. So that the thought of God keeps bubbling to the surface. And again, as we said before, this is not going to make Krishna happy. Oh, I just love how you've been doing it. I'm going to go image grace. No such God. What these practices do is clean out the channel. So the love of God, the grace of God, the joy, the Brahmananda Rasa, the juice of the bliss of God becomes my experience. All right, next verse.
Yasmano dujate loko lokano dujate chaya harsha marsha bhayo dvergaye mukto yasacha me priyaha. He by whom the world is not agitated, and who cannot be agitated by the world, who is freed from joy, envy, fear, and anxiety, he is dear to me.
Yes. So again, more practices by which we can invoke the grace of God. So the first idea,
He by whom the world is not agitated or affected.
yes, don't be a jerk. Pretty damn simple. I don't know if this is true or not, but someone years ago told me that one of the last teachings of the Buddha is that good manners is far superior to enlightenment. Who's to say? But good manners goes a long way. How do I develop this capacity to not be a jerk? We want to develop the habit to pause when agitated. If I'm disturbed, if I'm upset, if I'm reactive, stop, step back. What is it on Sesame Street? They say, take a deep breath and count to 4. It's great if you're a 5-year-old. It's great at all ages. Return good for evil. Again, the Master Jesus gave us practices that are experiential, not theoretical. If someone slaps you, turn the other cheek. If someone steals your cloak, give them your coat. If the Roman soldier makes you carry his pack for a mile, carry it for 2 miles. Begin to develop this way of being in the world where we're not reacting, getting angry, seeking to punish, to be clever, lash back, impress, defend, one up people. Being a jerk takes a lot of forms, but we work at it. We work at it. Cultivating this gentleness of spirit. And then the opposite. We let go when we're the vast majority of the time when other people are angry, it's not about us. We've said or done something many times inadvertently, and they react, but we don't have to personalize. If they're disturbed, it's their issue. But if I'm disturbed, it's my issue. Next idea.
And who cannot be agitated by the world.
Yes, same thing. Let it go, let it go. Shankara has this wonderful metaphor. We want to have a mind like a wicker basket into which water is being poured. Modern example is like when you drain your spaghetti, water just goes through the colander. So as what people say, what they do comes at us, let it through. Now, listen carefully. Most of us are willing to renounce what negative things come at us, but we can't. It's hard. Why? Because where I got identified and attached was on the positive side. So if someone comes up to you and says, "Oh, you did such a good job. You are the best worker in the world. Oh, I loved your presentation." And we go, "Oh, yes, thank you." Inside, "Oh, I'm so good. I'm so good. I'm so good." Then next week, you totally missed the point on your presentation. I think we're going to have to give you, what do they say in the corporate world? Does not meet expectations. What do they say that?
That's one of the things, yeah.
Yeah. Then we're already identified. So when praise or censure comes to us, let it pass through. Let it pass through. And you can develop ways to do that. Many times people will say, "Oh, Jim, your class was so good, blah, blah, blah." You know what I do? All his grace. I never take it on. I always give it to Swamiji. Oh. Next idea.
Who is freed from joy, envy, fear, and anxiety.
Yes. So the idea here is the foolish person bases their happiness and sadness, as we said before, on conducive and non-conducive circumstances. The yogi wants to practice the devotee of stepping back. I don't get all jacked up when good things happen. And I don't let non-conducive environments bring me down. My kingdom is not of this world, is what the Master Jesus said. Same idea. I'm in the world, but not of it. Live our life like we're actors in a play. Play your part. Say your lines with feeling. But know that it's just a role. It's on you. Next idea.
He is dear to me.
All right. So that's the end of that particular verse. We'll have to stop here tonight. What verse are we on for tomorrow, for next week?
We'll start with 16.
All right. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.